All right. Happy Friday. Welcome, everyone, to Deep Dive. Let me put the chats where I can see them. There we go. Make sure we're scrolled here. Yes, I think so. All right. So welcome, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. If you are new and don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is the Deep Dive, which is a weekly live stream on Fridays at the current time, 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Those are U.S. time zones. And it was started by Scott Shawcroft, lead developer of CircuitPython. He is still working a bit of a reduced schedule, so I'm still filling in here for the streams, but I think the plan is for him to pick up deep dives next year. So I believe right now the plan is this will be my last one for a while, and then I think Scott's coming back at some point. I don't know, probably not next week, although I haven't talked to him about it. But in the new year, I believe he's planning to pick back up the streams. What is up, Beata Haugen, over on YouTube, and Kevin Scott, IG. So for anyone that is actually new, brand new, doesn't have any idea what I'm talking about, this is a stream about CircuitPython. When Scott's around, he is the lead developer, so he's working on whatever is cutting edge stuff up and coming in CircuitPython. Right now, I think he's doing a fair amount of work in Zephyrland. When I'm here, I usually work at a bit of a higher level, either working on CircuitPython libraries or projects or infrastructure or stuff like that. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more about it at the main website here, CircuitPython. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Here's a bunch of pictures of them. These devices, typically, when you use them with CircuitPython, that's just one of the ways that you can program them. There are lots of other ways, but when you use them with CircuitPython, the way it typically works, you plug it into your computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive. You can edit a Python file on that thumb drive, and when you save it, it will execute the Python code for you. So that's kind of the very, very high-level, quick version of what CircuitPython is all about. As always, thank you to Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. They fund the CircuitPython development by paying a team of folks to work on it, including Scott and myself. They also pay for other open source software development. So if you would like to help support them, as well as CircuitPython and all of the other open source software that they support by paying people to work on it, one of the easiest ways to do it is by purchasing hardware from them, which you can do at their store, adafruit.com. So you can get yourself microcontrollers there. You can get yourself all kinds of bits and bobs to plug into your microcontrollers to build interesting stuff with. There's also the whole Learn system here where you can find all kinds of fun and interesting projects to build or even just look at and get inspired from. One of my favorites from this week was this crazy rotating planetary gear dreidel system. This thing is insane. Huge shout out, props to Liz. And Noah and Pedro, if they helped design this, everyone who worked on this is such an insanely crazy, really, really cool device and project. Anyway, so yeah, Learn system, shops, you can do that. Thanks to Adafruit as always. I will jump into the editor, the IDE here, because what I would like to work on today is some FruitJam OS stuff. Actually, let me open one more thing. We can see some of the things I want to work on here in the FruitJam OS repo on issues. I think the first one that I would like to tackle is this one. Even though it doesn't, it's not going to change the behavior inside FruitJam itself. So, when you run it on your FruitJam device, the OS is not going to be any different inside there. But what this is going to do is allow the builds to go way quicker, I think. What's up, Yano? Happy holidays. I've been having a great, it's been having you great to host the deep dive so often this year. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. And as always, I will still be around. So when, for weeks when Scott's out, if I am not busy, then I will plan on filling in. But yeah, at some point he'll be taken back over more regularly. And so what this is about is the way that FruitJam OS gets built. It builds a bunch of different languages, right? There's a huge list of languages that it builds. We could find the list of them somewhere here. Well, actually, so what it does is it takes them from fonts, in fact, is what it does. See header? What was that, I wonder? 1 second, let me check. Make sure that's not, like, too crazy. Mid-size data, no, this is not too crazy. This is something to do with the fonts. I don't know exactly what I was doing here. I must have been, I don't know, it looks like trying to parse something out of the font. I don't have any recollection of this. But essentially, there are a list of different font files here, LV font bin files, and for each one of these files, it's in a different language, and for each one of these languages, FruitJam OS gets built, and currently, for each one of these, it runs some commands to install some libraries into the current build that it's working on, and it's the same set of libraries in every one, right? We don't have different internationalized libraries. We don't have different languages in the libraries or anything. So it's kind of like downloading and copying the same set of libraries n times, where n is however many languages are here, a dozen or a little bit more, it looks like. It would be nice if it didn't do that. So again, it doesn't change like what happens inside the OS on the microcontroller, but this will make the builds a lot faster. It'll make the actions go a lot faster. It will make it faster if anyone else is wanting to work on development of the OS and be able to make builds at a more rapid pace. So where this is going to be, I think, is in here. So create font specific zip. So the thing is that this is getting called once per language like this, and then inside of here somewhere it's going to be doing the installing. Sort of install auto. And it's going to tempter, which is where it is making the current build. Okay. I think what we want this to do instead... Yeah, what we want this to do instead, I think, is these two... Are these the only circa CLI? There's 3, actually. Where's the third? Oh, well, the import, of course. Okay. Yeah, these are the only 2 actual calls. I think we want these to be slightly different. We want these to go not to tempter. We want a different tempter. So right now, temp, this tempter here, this is holding the actual build that we're working on. What we want in addition is a place to store those apps locally so that on the first language's builds, we download them using Circup, because this is going to download them from the bundle, essentially. So we download them for the first language's build, we put them in this other temp folder that we're about to have, this sort of like application cache directory or library cache directory, I suppose it is. And then for the rest of them, we'll check the cache. If they exist already in the cache, we'll take them from there. If they don't, then we will Circup CLI them. And we don't really want... Where do we want that? So temp is just in the output dir, but it gets deleted, I believe. Gets deleted. So we could delete the cache dir as well when we're done. Okay, so I think what we do here is, well, but no, we can't delete the cache dir when we're done here because we want to use it for the next language. So we would actually need to delete it here. To do delete lib cache. And then we probably want to... might as well probably create it out here as well. It doesn't technically matter. We could really do this somewhere inside of there, but I think, well, we don't have output dir, I suppose. unfold. There is being passed in. Should have output. We don't have it until here, so why don't we put it after that? Great. Cache directory for downloaded libs. Lib cache. So this will, okay, so let's call this lib cache dir. Need to create it still. Just deleting it only. Just want 2 of these. Okay, so this is actually deleting it if it exists, and then creating it, and then we're going to delete it at the end anyway, so I don't know, I guess. I mean, I suppose that's probably good to do, actually, is to delete it at the beginning, because if it does exist and it has something weird in it, we don't want to copy that into the build, so we do want to start with a clean slate in the builds. And we're inside of dist, so like, if the user put something weird in there and it gets deleted, that's kind of on them. So we remove it, we create it. Over here, we can delete it. Oh, did I just change that? Hold on. I think we want to keep that one, right? Oh no, I pasted it. Okay. Myself around there for a second. Thought that was there, and really what I did is I copied the comment, which is what threw me off. Delete the lib cache dir if it exists. I did that. Okay. So we'll make it at the beginning. It will delete it at the end. And then inside of here, we want to use it, if it exists, to copy the directories out of. We're going to need another one of these. We're going to need, as well take this. And then before the circups here, we're going to go like this. So if this exists, well, so, but the thing is, this is going to create it. This is going to create it here. So we don't want to create it here. What we really want to do is we want to only create it here if it doesn't exist. So essentially, once we create it, we want to put stuff into it, and then from that point on, we want to assume if it exists, it already has the stuff it needs inside of it. So we don't really want it to ever exist without the stuff in it for more than, like, as these statements execute, essentially. So we'll say if it exists, we're going to copy the stuff out of it. Copy from libcache to temp. But I am going to just put pass for now to make that happy. We can else this, and then we can put these in here. So if it does not exist, we're going to circup CLI. We are going to do that to here. Actually, we need a boot out in there, though. Do we still need this inside of the temp dir? I don't think we do. I think we only need it in the libcache dir now. Means we do actually need this to come first. This is putting a mock boot out file in that directory where we're about to point circup to say install the code that's here. Now, one other actual problem that we have is that yeah, so this is tough. So we don't, the code and stuff is not there. This is tricky. I think actually we're doing this maybe the wrong way. I don't think we want to do this actually. This can go after. This is back to temp. We still want to call circup on this, but what we'll do is we'll copy libs out. This will be temp. This will be temp. Tempter. Okay, and then once we've done that, we create... What? Oh, we create that, because we already have the variable. Make dir. Have this, make dir. We can do this parents true or whatever, right? Is this okay true? That's fine as well. I mean, it's not going to exist, so that maybe we won't do, and if it does exist, we raise exceptions probably good, because we explicitly said here it doesn't exist with the else, so... So create that, and then copy the libcacher, and then copy the libs that we just got installed. Copy the installed libs from tempter to cache. So we want to copy not built-in apps. Well, this is what? How does this work? So this goes source and then destination. So many options. Dest. Okay, source dest. Okay. And then symlinks and all kinds of stuff. So does exist true. So we are copying from tempter libs, right? Or is it lib? I always forget that. I think it's libs, right? Oh, yeah, I was wrong. It's just lib. So we want to copy tempter lib. Apps appster. Does this copy... So I want to copy the actual folder. Does this copy the folder or only the stuff inside of it? Like this is only the stuff inside of it. These all files, subdirectories, and their contents. I think this is not copying the actual folder, just the contents. How do I copy? I mean, aim one higher, but I don't want everything one higher. I really want to say copy that directory and everything that's inside of it, not just everything that's inside of it. Copy. Not very. Maybe if you built in, but this doesn't have a slash. And that's not copying the full. Is this okay? mean, I guess what we could do is copy the contents of lib to the contents of lib. Yeah. So we actually want to go libcaster. Well, we don't need to put them inside of lib in there. I guess the answer would be create the folder you want in the new place and then copy the stuff into it. That would be the answer of how do you copy the folder. It's not exactly copying it, but so took all the stuff from inside of lib and we put it in the cacher. I think that it would. What if we just put here raise? So we could just stop the program here essentially. So I think this will run once. Copy stuff in here and we can look at what it did. This will basically do one language's worth, I think. Doesn't seem like it raised the value error the rest of the way, which is interesting. So it didn't make... directory. Oh, we failed a GitHub thing. We didn't make it through the first one. Huh. Okay, what if we try again? Okay, there we go. Now we made it to our exception, so there should be inside of dist libcache. Okay, and there is no lib folder, but I think that's actually fine. What's up, Harold Pulcher over on YouTube? Nice to see you, my friend. I think that's fine because we can just copy from. We can just copy all the stuff from in there into lib in the other case. So in the spot where we have this, we don't actually want to end. What we want to do is copy from libcache into tempter lib. Unbox this on my stream Wednesday night. Gonna play a little more tonight. Looks like a ton of fun. Sweet. Yeah, glad to hear it. Yeah, it definitely is a super cool little device. I missed the. I didn't really have the first round of like sort of small, purpose-built singular device computer things like this. My first computer was like DOS essentially. And then I did not even use that one that much. I got more into it in the Windows sort of like 95-ish, 98-ish era. So going back to this very primitive device that's kind of like boots up right into the code and stuff, I think is been a lot of fun for me for sure. You said on YouTube, you're on Twitch as well. Yeah, we should be on both. Should be on both. Let me open up the thing here. Yeah, looks like both should be connected. It shows that in the stream review thing, basically. And Discord, yeah, Discord, we have the chat. Live broadcast chat on Discord is the one that is below me on the screen there, and then YouTube as well. All right, so when we are here, when this does exist, what we want to do is copy from, you mean exactly what the to-do says, we want to copy from the cache into not just temp, but actually temp lib, so we should create temp lib, I think. So libdir equals temp lib make dir. I should only be creating the one. The parent should exist already, but that's fine, I think. And then util copy tree, and we want to go from the cache to the libdir exist. All right. Maybe for now I'll put a print. Copied libs from local cache. Just gonna print temp over and over again. All right, so we get all of those installed once with all these circuit things, and then now we just get copied. Oh yeah, that was way faster. So it's just created, copied, created, copied, created, copied. Now we do need to make sure all of these actually have what they need. We've got all these builds. Which one went first? Let's not look at that one. I guess it's way back up here. Where it would be, actually. I guess the after all the circuit stuff? All of this is circuit doing its thing. But it shouldn't be interesting. I would have thought there was one before the first copied one. It should have said like created, like what was saying created output? That's at the end. Okay, that's at the end. Okay, so the first one is PL, and then on the next one it copied instead of circup. So EL was the one that it copied. The first one, TRZH ENKOHISVES ENX pirate. ESJNLDEENUSRUFIL. Okay. Yeah, it is way faster, basically, because it did... Before, it was like, as long as that first one took with all that stuff that Circup was printing there, it was doing that on all of them, essentially. It looks like it has everything. What we'll do is we will try this. I do have a Fruit Jam plugged in. The old capture card here. And what I will do is take a backup. And I don't really see any reason why that would have affected apps, but I am going to go ahead and delete apps anyway, just in case, just to make sure if it did affect it, we know about it. And I'll delete lib. And then I will copy the new ones. So apps, lib. I'll copy CodePy too, which I also don't think it would have affected, but one thing I will do is take this to the REPL. Just because anecdotally I feel like the REPL is less likely to get messed up by pasting a huge amount of things, which we are definitely doing. And then we will wait for this, because it does take it a minute. Copying a billion little small-ish files. Okay, a few hundred, not quite a billion. Is this off? Right, well, it does it in the REPL too. I'm gonna cover it. Some Spelljam assets. Here we go. And overwrite code. That's the launcher code file. And then we can relaunch it with Control D. And there we go. MOS launcher. I have a mouse plugged in, but I think I have mouse disabled in the launcher config. Keyboard here. And yeah, like everything's fine. Something that requires libraries. This will work. This is like match 3, which is like a take on the card game set. If anyone's played the card game set, you gotta find sets of 3 things that are either all the same or all different, or some the same, some different. It's hard for me to explain, I guess. Basically, there's different categories like color and shapes and counts and textures, or fill pattern, I guess, fill color. And you have to choose 3 cards where all three where all of those attributes are either the same or they're all different. They can't be like 2 of 1 of 1 of 1. You have to have, for one attribute, it has to be all the same or all different. So you got to use all reds, or you got to use all, red, green, purple. But you can't go like red, red, green. And then for shapes and for fills and for numbers, same is true as well. But everything looks like it's working. So I'm going to exit out of here. Oh, mouse is disabled still. We will maybe make sure the editor works. Let's see. Not use too much in the way of libraries, I don't think, but it's good to check this one. Yep. Good there. So we can C quits. Probably back to the REPL, or back to the OS. Okay. All right. I think that looks fine. I think that seems like it's working fine. And it did delete libcache afterwards, so did the cleanup for us. So next time we'll get a fresh one. So when we do the build, we'll get a fresh one, but we won't bother getting fresh libraries in between every language of the build. That's kind of excessive, I think. So, all right, it's relatively easy. We need this. It didn't really print anything useful because it's always the same directory. So instead, we will just get created over and over again, which is fine. I don't really need this. I have just on a random branch. Nice. We will call this just gonna call it refactoring. Okay, got about 20 minutes. I think another one we could maybe try to knock out real quick. So that should cover this. And I think another one that we could probably try to knock off real quick is pre-commit with rough. So let's look at like a library. In fact, we could look at brand new library that I just created. Do we want all of these? We don't have a rough toml either. I don't know about reuse. Reuse I don't think is gonna work by default because, well, so for one thing, the code doesn't have license in it. But also there's no license directory. Licenses? I think we need these for work. Usually I think the examples are unlicensed. But I am more typically these days just choosing MIT for everything pretty much. CCBY, I think like maybe the README and perhaps code of conduct, although there's no code of conduct here either. Copy that as well. Yeah, that one is CCBY. Okay, what happens if we run pre-commit here? I assume... Oops. Does it do that by default? Do you not have to put this? Dist is very unhappy with this. Dist didn't get ignored. Only old. That idea should not be checked in. It's not checked in. Also not here. Okay. So some of these things I'm not gonna fix. We have about 1 billion too many branches, and the truth is, like, we're just gonna have a lot of branches. And nested blocks as well, because branches create nested blocks. But some of these we are just going to add into here. Mostly what I want is formatting more than linting, in this case, truthfully. This is 1702, too many nested blocks. Nested blocks. Another one we can do is too many branches. Allow that. Too many branches. Set literal we could probably fix. Flow signal. Is this in... Well, this is in PyBasic actually. Truthfully, I think I don't really necessarily want to enforce in here, actually. Is there a way you can ignore a directory? Or a directory? Rough toml nor directory? Build? Looks like a directory. This is in PyProject. We're here. Okay. Exclude. Like ignore versus exclude. Okay. And we could put this anywhere, or is it at the very, very top? So I would almost like to... it already ran rough, I suppose. It already ran the formatter. All right, so really what I want to do actually is... I think I want to roll back this. Undo all the changes from built-in apps. because I haven't touched anything. Build.py is the only place where I touched, like where I made changes to the code. All the rest of these changes, and git ignore, all the rest of these changes in the config files, like pre-commit and ref. All the rest of these changes, though, including these ones in here, those are all going to have been made by rough. But what I think we want actually is exclude the source. No, it's just built-in apps. It's in the root of the project. So everything inside of there, I think we ignore. Learn projects. I don't know. Sure if that one matters. Fonts. Didn't really touch anything in there anyway. There's no code. It's like binary files. Okay, let's try that again. Some of those, I wonder if we don't need some of these, because I was looking at, we turn those off, get more errors of that type. We do have a too many branches in the boot animation and in the launcher, and too many statements as well. Okay, so we can get rid of nested blocks though. We don't need to ignore that one. Instead, we can do too many statements. So I'm also not gonna go change number of statements in that function, whatever it is. Okay, and then we have a bunch of globals. Yeah, that's odd, isn't it? What's going on there? So when CodePy, this is a launcher, when the launcher runs, it looks for argv arguments. In this case, you know, they come from a file because it's a CircuitPython land, different than regular Python land, but similar concept to argv's arguments. If there are some, next code file gets set to none. If the length is, if there's at least one, then the next code file is the first one. If there's at least two, then the remaining args are everything else. If remaining args is not none, then write the argv file for the next code file. So basically pass on the rest of the arguments we got to the next code file. Set the next code file to itself, which certainly does seem pretty useless. We should be able to test that with the editor. So it should make use of that functionality, I'm pretty sure. Let's just make sure I'm not like misunderstanding something fundamental and that's gonna like massively break it, but pretty sure that is just not doing anything. So we could just choose any other code file here, E for the editor. That's gonna launch the editor and pass the file name to open inside of it. And it does seem to have worked successfully. Or actually, I guess maybe the real test it would be so yeah, actually the true test is Control W right here. So Control W is going to remount the drive as writable. And then kind of like reboot the device in order to do that. And then it's going to bring us back into the editor. And in order to bring us back into the editor, it would have written an argv file for boot and or code. Not sure. There's In any case, I can control W and go back, and like the fact that all of this is working correctly does make me think that that code is, this thing we deleted here is not used. And obviously it looked on the surface to be not used, but it looks like we have another one as well, actually. Or that was the one I deleted. Oh, there's one inside bootpy too. Okay. So maybe the true test will be I'll delete that one also. And for sure the editor is using one or both of those. Yeah, surely they were just copy pasted from each other. All right, so we'll do one more pass through back and forth in the editor. Control W, make sure that works. So E for edit. Control W, remount writable. Okay, very good. W again. So that gets rid of those two, and then we have a line too long here, which is a documentation line for the argument. Storage read-only flag. False means writable to CircuitPython. True means read-only to CircuitPython. I like that, I guess. And then I think for now I'm just going to ignore the global thing, because there's basically a bunch of global action going on in the launcher. So maybe we could make another future issue that says, like, refactor the launcher to not use global. You have another one? What? Oh, I didn't change it here. Okay, I deleted it on the device, but not in the repo. Okay. Go back to here. Let's do one more of these. Global and global. Okay. So now reuse does have... Okay, so we actually do need unlicense. And lots of files don't have reuse stuff. We might just kibosh on the reuse for now. Also, I really wish that reuse would not target stuff that's not checked in. Is there like a reuse ignore yet? Is that like a thing or something? Reuse ignore files? Ignore files. Isn't possible, but this is from 2019. Better ways. Now contains... This is not a website though, this just took me to another GitHub. Oh, what was a GitHub anyway? Reuse website. Reuse TOML? Oh, but this is like applying a license to a bunch of files, not configuring the tool, really. Yeah, I think for now we are going to not use reuse. Because I don't want to force the license on everything right away. In fact, if I could, like, I would like to not... I wish I could exclude it just like I did rough, in fact, for the built-ins. But reuse it seems to be like all or none. And when I say all, I mean like even stuff that's not checked into the repo, which is like, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Recommended resources for learning C and anything fun on my holiday New Year's wish list. I do not have great resources ready to go for C. What I did when I was trying to learn C, I mean, I don't even know if they would be in my history, but I found yeah, I can't search easily either because right now my YouTube is set to the Adafruit thing. I'll try to search through and see if I can find one of the ones I did. But when I was trying to hunker down and learn a lot more C, that was actually earlier this year. In fact, towards the beginning of this year, that's honestly that was kind of like one of my goals for this year was get a better grasp of C. To be able to work inside the core a bit better and to wrap my head around C pointers and the syntax and everything that goes along with them. There were a few. What I ended up doing was essentially mostly tutorials from YouTube. I know there are good books and stuff out there as well, but I also don't have those off the top of my head ready to go. So I will look through my YouTube's history and see if those things are in there. If I'm recalling correctly, I found a couple that were like playlists where it would be like sort of one video for one topic. And I essentially went through a bunch of those. Not quite. I didn't do 100% comprehensive everything because lots of stuff I sort of knew. Because C is like a lot of C is similar to like Java, the syntax, the lots of stuff is similar to Java. There's things that Java doesn't have, but lots of the base syntax is similar, which I had a huge background in anyway. So lots of the basic stuff I knew, but I kind of skipped around in those tutorials. I watched the ones that I hadn't seen before. And then, honestly, my biggest piece of advice, more than a specific resource to point you to, my biggest piece of advice, or at least what worked for me, was doing stuff. So like practicing. I just sat down and wrote like queue. I wrote a queue that you could put stuff into and pop stuff out of. I wrote a handful of just like play, toy, custom encryption things. So like, you know, if you have watched my streams and my show and tells and stuff for a long time, one of the things that pops up every now and then with me is like, I'm sort of a fan of just like old and interesting and basic cryptology stuff. So I'm always like, you know, every now and then I'll have an idea for like this, you know, bespoke custom way to encrypt something that I'm sure is horribly insecure, but is like fun or amusing or otherwise interesting to me. And I will implement it. And for the longest time, my go-to for implementing those things was Python. But when I was really hunkering down and learning C, I started doing a couple of those in Python. So it was like lots of string manipulation, lots of pointers and things because I was using lists of strings and stuff like that. And so just getting my hands dirty, so to speak, and actually coding something, you know, in this case that I was interested in. So not everyone's going to be interested in, you know, weird bespoke crypto, make your own sort of weak cryptology stuff. So that may not be your thing, but that would be my advice, is try to find something that you are interested enough in to be able to just sit down and like build it, even though it's not a thing that is going to get released. It's not a thing that you even need to use necessarily. It's just a thing that interests you enough to be able to work on it and build it in C. And I'm with you as well. I do also enjoy the irony of not using reuse. That was kind of fun. And we are basically at time, so what I'll do is I will remove this. I'll try it once more just to see what we end up with. I don't know if we'll actually pass or not. Okay, we did. That's nice. Okay. So that's cool. We can end it on a high note. So we passed there. I will eventually commit this and make a PR out of it. And then that'll be there. So yeah, like I said, I'll look back through my videos to see if I can find the playlist. And I'll ping you with that when I have a chance to do it. But practice is my biggest thing, whether you do a tutorial or a book or anything else. It's just hands-on keyboard, writing code, debugging code, because you're going to write it, it's not going to work, and you have to debug it. Those were the things that helped me most. All right, so we will wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I will not, I'm out tomorrow, so no stream. I think last week I said maybe that I was going to plan on streaming tomorrow, but it turns out I'm not actually, so no stream tomorrow. I do usually stream on Saturdays, so if you're interested in more CircuitPython content, I think probably I should be back next week. You know, again, I did say that last week and it turned out to be wrong, but as far as I know, I think I will be back next week on Saturday, so the 27th. No deep dive from me on Friday. I don't think Scott is either, so I believe no deep dive next week. And then I will just continue on with my Saturday streams. And so Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time, you can find me over on my own channels on YouTube and Twitch. And I try to drop links in the live broadcast chat that's right below me here on the Adafruit Discord when I get started. So as long as I remember, I'll put links in there and you can just click them to tune in on Saturday mornings. But again, no stream tomorrow. I'll be back next week on Saturday for that. And yeah, thank you all. I hope you have a great holiday time if you're celebrating holidays. Hope everyone has a good, wonderful sort of Happy New Year time change over there. I will mention, be thinking about CircuitPython 2026. I know that's one of the first things that Scott's going to do in the new year is get the call out for CircuitPython 2026. If you've been around a couple of years, you know we do this thing at the beginning of the year where we kind of put the call out for people to write up like what kind of stuff they want to see from CircuitPython, whatever they want to build maybe, or what they want to see from the core, or just what they're thinking about the project overall. So I will put the early word out here. Be thinking about CircuitPython 2026. We would love to have folks write those things up when the time comes in the new year. And that is it. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week on my stream on Saturday. Until then, so long, farewell, and good day.